All right, Shadow the Golden Dome, welcome back to another interview. I super pumped about this one today. I've got Vince DeDario here, a staple in Notre Dame football coverage. He's a football analyst. He's a podcaster on Irish Breakdown. I know most of you are probably familiar with IB, but if you're not, we're going to get you interested in this because I'm a huge fan. I've been listening to them forever, and we're going to get to know Vince today. He breaks down practices. He breaks down recruiting. He co-hosts with Brian Driscoll, which I'm sure most of you know him as well. And you've probably seen him on either X or YouTube, maybe once or twice. Vince joins us this morning from what I have to assume is a snowy-ish and very cold South Bend, Indiana.
It has taken a dip. Yesterday it was like 56, or I think, and then today it's like 35. So it's like, we're just riding the road, man. We're riding the wave of northern Indiana weather in January, and it was like a rain snow mix out there today. So here we are.
So how has the winter been overall? Are you guys getting dumped on?
No, not well. We got dumped on early, like in November, and there was some snow days for school and things like that. And then for Christmas, green, like absolutely green. And then a few days after Christmas, we get dumped on. And then this last little warm snap over the last like half a week got rid of all the snow. So who knows what comes next? It's like I said, we're riding the wave, man.
Very cool, man. Well, hey, I want to start this like I start all of them. We talked offline for a second. You've got an interesting background and kind of what brought you to being on IB. And we want to touch on that. But let's start here. How did your relationship with the University of Notre Dame start, your fandom? Let's get the background out of the way here so we can kind of get to know Vince DeDario a little bit.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I was a fan first, like a lot of people I think that are on the beat. And I grew up in Elkhart County, so Elkhart and Bristol, and then I went to school at Marion High School in Mishawaka. So I've been around it forever. In high school, we would walk around the stadium and look for people to give us tickets and, then go in the stadium and watch the game, that kind of fun stuff. But I've always been a fan, probably because of the location of where I lived. My dad wasn't a huge sports fan, so I kind of had to find it on my own. But, I played sports in high school and all of those kinds of things. And when you live around here, a lot of times you become a Notre Dame fan. I had friends that were IU fans, obviously, and all of the above. But man, Notre Dame always kind of stuck out. And I remember my family taking me, on campus and walking around in the fall, like that kind of a thing. So got some deep memories of being, around Notre Dame and all of those things. And then I went to Holy Cross for college back when it was a good old 2-year school. Loved it there. Absolutely loved at Holy Cross. They basically, we call it the triumvirate, right? You got Holy Cross, you got St. Mary's, you got Notre Dame, and they're all kind of like one school, more or less. So sat in the student section, while I was at Holy Cross and the whole deal. And then I went to Loyola in Chicago, and my wife went to St. Mary's. That's where we met. And so, she grew up around here as well. So that's why we're still here. You know what I mean? We got family and all that fun stuff. So, Notre Dame fan really from birth, just because of where I lived, and it just grew and got more passionate from then on.
Yeah, that sounds similar to my story because I grew up close to campus and you just kind of organically get swept up in it, right? Like I remember growing up as a kid and like we were outside playing tackle football and then we'd come in because all of my friends' dads watched the Irish. So you're sitting there on a Saturday watching the Irish, and then you go back out and kick each other's butts again in the yard. Like
100%.
those are my first memories of Notre Dame football.
100%. I had my Notre Dame starter jacket when I was in middle school, that kind of a deal. And then I remember playing basketball in the front, in the driveway, and I was LaFonso Ellis, you know what I mean? So like those are the guys you knew because back in the day, it wasn't hard to get a ticket to watch the Coach McLeod coached Notre Dame Fighting Irish, so we would go to basketball games and we would do all the things. And so, those are the guys that you idolized and looked up to when you were a kid. And I had the pleasure of meeting LaFonso because his son went to the school that I taught at. One of the most amazing people on the planet, by the way. Just want to put that out there. And I stand at a very tall 5'8". And obviously LaFonso Ellis is a lot taller than that. And I'll never forget shaking this man's hand and then wondering if I even had a hand left. It was so big that it just like engulfed my entire hand. But one of the nicest guys on the planet for sure.
So I wanted before we kind of get into the origins of IB and how you and
Yeah.
Brian hooked up on that, you've got a pretty deep coaching background, right? Because I mean, your ability to go in and kind of break down film, that
Yep.
doesn't come from just watching TV. So can we kind of let's talk about that a little bit? Like how do you have those skills to be able to break down film the way you do?
Yeah, 100%. So I when I started, so my career is I'm in education, right? I went to school to become a teacher. Was a teacher for about 15 years, and now I'm dean of students at a high school around here at Penn High School. And so I've been in education. This is my 20th year in education. So when I got my first teaching job, I'll never forget it. I was kind of, getting my classroom ready. I taught seventh grade social studies, and I was in the teacher workroom with another teacher, and he happened to be a football coach at the high school level. And he's like, "Man, we're looking for an assistant coach. Have you ever thought about coaching?" And to be honest with you, I had never really thought about it. And I was just, I'd just gotten married, and just trying to get my feet wet and having like an actual real man, adult job. And he's like, we're looking for a coach. Why don't you stop by? I'll introduce you to the head coach. We'll kind of just go from there for fun. I was like, okay, why not? Well, that started quite the journey of being a high school football coach. And I started as an assistant freshman coach, and then worked my way up to eventually being an offensive coordinator. But I coached football for 15 years in South Bend, and then I was the head baseball coach as well at Riley High School. So I've been coaching until I went to Penn 4 years ago. I was in coaching nonstop, and taught myself how to watch film, and did all the things that you need to do to be a coach, and just absolutely loved it. It became a calling for sure, being involved in young people's lives. And you got to be a teacher to be a coach, and to be a good coach in my opinion. And so it just kind of went hand in hand. I became the cliche of a social studies teacher and a football coach, and just loved every second of it. And I have great relationships with my former players, going to their weddings now, watching them have kids. Like, it makes me feel old. But it's always been part and parcel with my career. It was being a coach and teaching at the same time. So the bedrock of my adult life for sure.
So I want to ask this because I have a buddy that coaches baseball
Hmm.
down in Texas.
Okay.
He, do you think kids are as teachable today as they were when you
Mm.
started coaching? Do you
It's
think
funny
there's a
that,
is there a difference as
yeah,
these new generations come through?
it's way different, man. I'll be honest with you. One thing about me is, if for better or for worse, when I agree to do something, I'm all in, like 100%, both feet in, head first into the deep end kind of a guy. And with coaching is no different, right? And so, I'm staying up late, I'm breaking down film, I'm putting together scouting reports, I'm doing all the things. And towards the end of my football coaching career, it felt like I wanted it more than the kids.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what pushed me out, to be honest with you, and made me kind of try something different, which honestly was Irish Breakdown at the time. They just kind of meshed at the same time. So I was still able to scratch that itch of coaching. But you're absolutely right. Just things have changed. You've got all the private coaches out there now. You've got everybody thinks they're going to go D1, and just a different mentality of kid. It's not, hey man, we're just out here with our buddies working hard, running through a brick wall, that kind of thing. And then at least locally, you got open enrollment. And so no longer was it, when you're in first grade, that the kids that you're playing ball with in the front yard, that you're going to eventually play with in high school.
Mhm.
And you're going to play football, and you're going to play basketball, and you're going to run track, and you're going to do all the things. You're going to wrestle, and you're going to do it with your buddies that live down the block. Well, that all changed with open enrollment and all these different things. And so you could live right next door to somebody who now goes to a different school in the same corporation. And now it changed things from a coaching level, because now coaches are recruiting, and they're trying to get kids that are in the same corporation to go to their school. And it just kind of affected some things, maybe not the way the suits thought it would, you know what I mean? And it just changed things, it changed things.
So this is a great segue into something I was going to get into later, but we're going to roll with it right now
All
because
right.
it just works. So what I'm hearing is as the years pass and mentality of student athletes change,
Hmm.
maybe affects their ability to be coachable. Now we're in a day and age where kids are getting a bag before they even come to college. So
Yeah.
here's the question for you. And you're one of the perfect people to ask this to. So here's the question I posed to you, Vince. Is college football as we knew it, is student athletics
Hmm.
as we knew it dead? Where are we today? Because it feels like we're about to watch a national championship on January 19th,
Hmm.
where it is who had the best bought roster. I don't know. Maybe that's a touch extreme, but where are we today? Where does this go? Where do athletics and the kids, where does the whole thing go from here?
It's not as extreme as it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. Your statement, you know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's probably more closer to the truth than it is not. That's obviously a shame. I'm old school, right? I love the way things used to be, the way recruiting used to be. Now, there were negatives. I mean, you had guys like Nick Saban who would stockpile talent, and I'm not throwing shade at Nick Saban by any stretch
Sure.
of the imagination. He did what he needed to do. But you had guys in the three deep that would have started anywhere, right?
Correct.
Now that talent is spread out. So that's a good part of it. That's
Mm-hmm.
the positive, right? It will never be like it used to be because kids aren't making, let me rephrase. The There are a lot of kids out there that are not making the decision on where to go to school for the same reasons that they were making the decision on where to go to school 5, 10 years ago. That has changed. I will say that my oldest son plays at the Division 2 level. That is almost identical to what it used to be back in the day at
Mm-hmm.
the D1 level, as far as recruiting and how things look and all of those different things. So it was a very interesting recruitment process for him than it is now for like those high D1 kids. You know what I mean? And look, there's still plenty of kids out there that are choosing schools for the quote unquote right reasons, for the education, for, the coaching staff, for, all of those things. It's not just driven by money, but there are plenty of kids out there that are driven by money. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing for them, right? Because they can now take care of their families and they can do all of these different positive things with money. It's just unfortunate that that has become such a glaring piece of all of this, that the money, you know what I mean? And I think that college kids deserve some money. I mean, they've been making billions of dollars for their schools. They deserve a cut. I'm not saying that at all. Just the NCAA did a very poor job of putting any kind of guardrails and all of those things, and the toothpaste is out of the tube now, and I don't know how you go back.
I don't either. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. I mean, there's pros and cons, right? Now kids are able to do things for their families. That is certainly not a bad thing. And there's so
Right.
much money brought in by college sports. Yes, the kids should get part of that. It just feels like maybe we could get to, I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a fix. The toothpaste is out of the tube. It's here. It's not leaving, but there's got to be better structure. And I
Yes.
don't know,
It's like a
and then
salary cap, something along the lines of just trying to keep things, controlled to a
yes,
degree. You know what I mean?
yes.
Like every school's got a GM now, right? Like we're getting closer and closer to the NFL model. And if you're gonna have GMs, and Notre Dame just hired an assistant GM, right? And these player personnel departments at these colleges are just ballooning out, where they're completely separate, pretty much, from the coaching side of things. It's one of the reasons Notre Dame's building a brand new football building so they can actually have places for all of these people to be housed.
Right.
Um, you know, why can't we have a salary cap? Why can't we have a few more rules in place to just kind of keep things under control? You know what I mean? And I don't want to take any money away from these kids, but just to keep things under control. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I agree. The thing I'm tussling with as a Notre Dame fan is
Hmm.
I've heard and I believe as far as NIL goes, like Notre Dame has no issues. Like
Hmm.
the money is there.
Yep.
The struggle I'm having is, and I'm sure you can agree with this, is how are we living in 2026 and Indiana plays for a national title and may very well win one before we do. Now, we got completely hosed. The argument of Notre Dame not being in the playoff, the two loss thing is dead to me. I don't want to even hear about that because yes, if we'd won one of those two, we're in. But the
Sure.
fact is, we lost. But Alabama
Mm,
gets boat raced in the SEC title game, and then we flip flop. I mean,
yeah.
obviously, we don't need to relitigate that entire
Sure.
situation, but that's where I'm struggling is how on earth is Indiana about to get one before we do? Kurt Signetti, he's a firebrand. I'm sure he's a hell of a coach to play for, but
Easy.
Marcus Freeman is too.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
that kids flock to him. So where what do we have to do? What does Notre Dame have to do to square this and get back?
It is. I will say that it is a tough it's a tough thing to sit here on January, in the middle of January and look at things and be like, man, IU was the losingest program in college football history when Kurt
Hmm.
Signetti took over, and now they're on the doorstep of winning a national title. And Notre Dame is still here and haven't won one since '88, right? And that's a tough pill to swallow for Notre Dame fans, right? And living here, surrounded by IU fans, doesn't make it any easier, by the way.
Right, right.
Um, it's they approach things completely differently. And I don't think that Notre Dame is ever going to approach things the way that IU does, right? I mean, the average age of the IU roster is 23. Like that's never going to be the case at Notre Dame.
No.
Marcus Freeman has made it very clear that his focus is to build the program through high school, and you have to be somewhat patient if that is what you're going to do. And what we've talked about on our shows a lot, honestly, is Kurt Signetti is doing something that has literally never been done before. There have been coaches, Lincoln Riley, for example, Florida State. There have been coaches that have attempted to build their roster primarily through the portal. They have maybe 1 year of genuine success, and then it falls off a cliff, right? The sustainability isn't there. Then you've got Kurt Signetti, who 2 years in a row now has completely turned over his roster twice, and he's still extremely competitive. And again, like I said, on the doorstep of a national championship. So, he is super successful. The biggest question moving forward for him and for IU is that sustainable, right? Can they continue to do that year in and year out? I do think Notre Dame's model is sustainable. Like I don't believe that they're going to take a dip, out of the top 25, or they're always going to be competing for a playoff spot. And then, once you're in the dance, you got a shot, right? I think we can all
Yeah.
agree that if Notre Dame was in this playoff specifically in 2025/26, they'd have won some games. Like
Oh
they'd have
yeah.
won some games. I mean,
Yeah.
look, and then that's not even being a homer. That's not being anything. Like Notre Dame was on a roll. They would have won some games. Okay.
Hmm.
And so I know that Notre Dame is sustainable. I'm not 100% sure if IU's model is sustainable. Now, if it is, hats off, man. Like you guys are doing it. Congratulations. Like it's amazing. It's a question, right? It's a question. So in the short term, it stinks that we're sitting here talking about IU potentially winning a national championship from a Notre Dame perspective. But I do think Notre Dame's model is more sustainable in the future.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day because we're looking at IU football and the transfers they bring in and they put this team together. There could be a comparison in a certain way to how what Deion Sanders did at Colorado, right?
Sure.
Now,
Again,
now,
he's another great example of trying to build through the portal, not being successful, right?
okay, so I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so Deion Sanders, and I mean, you don't get any more charismatic than him, right? He comes in, he
Sure.
flips the entire roster, and aside from Travis Hunter and his son, they stink. Okay, I mean they get
Right.
and they can't win games. Indiana does the same thing.
Hmm.
You could probably argue, aside from Mendoza, the talent level probably on par, right? And now they could be 16-0 here in about 9 days.
Hmm.
So there's definitely a talent there as far as looking in the portal and evaluating
Absolutely.
talent. But to your point, exactly, it's like sustainable. Sure, if they hit a home run like
Every
every
time.
year, not
Exactly.
and they find talent that actually translate to the. I mean, it looks like this could be one of the most incredible flashes in the pan we've ever seen in college football for them to put a team together from the portal, and they're 16-0 and they're national champions. They could be 5-7 next year.
Absolutely.
Right? You never know.
100%. No, that's a great
Right.
point. I think here's what I will say. If we're comparing those two programs, I think IU has a much better coaching staff, number one. So I think those
Yeah.
kids are coached up way better at IU than they are at Colorado. I will also say that there is a talent that Kurt Signetti has and his staff, right? Because it's not just him, of
Hmm.
pinpointing guys that are going to work in his system,
Right.
right? I think Dion and his staff do a good job of getting paper recruits over to Colorado, but I don't know that they work together, right?
Right.
And
Right.
their lines of scrimmage have been awful. They can't
Oh,
figure that
bad.
part out. They
Their lines
can't
are
figure that
awful.
out. And
Yeah.
that you're never going to win if you can't figure out your line of scrimmage, right? I think we can
Right.
all agree on that.
Yeah. It does seem like a kind of, from the layman's perspective, it just seems like a talent grab. Like
Sure.
he's the most talented at that
Yep.
position. Let's just snag him or
100%.
whatever. Let's fly out there. Let's get Dion to close it. Don't really care how he fits in the system. He's just the most talented X or Z out there, and we'll take him.
Yep. Yep.
Where Signetti's like that Saban, like coaching
Mhm.
tree, you got to fit into this or we don't need you kind of a thing.
Absolutely. And
It's definitely a culture thing.
the culture's
Yeah.
way different, right? I mean,
Radically
you've got the screen names of the guys on their practice jerseys at Colorado, and like it's a completely different scenario. And when Notre Dame is, they're talked about, there's a corner at Colorado that's in the portal that Notre Dame might grab, that kind of a
McKinney.
thing. It's back and forth. But like,
Yeah.
you want to talk about a culture shock, coming from Colorado to Notre Dame, like
Right.
a little
Right.
different, you
When
know?
I heard about that, I was like, do we
I
close the
know.
deal on him? you know,
I know.
I don't know. I don't know how that plays out, but
Yeah, we'll see.
what do you think I don't necessarily subscribe to the sky is falling because we haven't had an influx of transfers from the
Yeah.
portal. And I just love how Notre Dame fandom's up in arms about it. And I don't mean any disrespect toward the kids, because if you're on that team, if you're a scholarship player, you're helping in practice, you're a part of the team. I'm not discounting any of that.
Yep.
But could the average fan recognize any of those names? Like, give
Right.
me a break, right? You know what I mean? It's
No,
like
I get you. Yeah.
they're leaving
100%.
for a reason because they're probably not in the pipeline to
Mhm.
play. Without diving into the X's and O's on that, but
Yeah.
what do you think the reason that we haven't grabbed a few kids is? Is there a reason for that?
So I think when we're talking about the fans being up in arms, right? And you've got 19 kids going out, so far none coming in, and that's the number
Right.
that everybody wants to talk about. Those two specific numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we try to tell everybody, look at Ohio State, look at Georgia, look at, name the school that is in a blue blood school, and they're just not bringing in big numbers in the portal at this moment, right? And I think that for Notre Dame specifically, somebody said the other day in like our online chat, it was like, Notre Dame hasn't brought in any dudes, any difference makers. My response to that was, there's dudes and difference makers on Notre Dame's roster right now. And that's not the case for like an IU, for example, that they know is coming back, something they're going to be able to count on, etc. Like Notre Dame's got the CJ Carrs of the world, the Leonard Moores, go down the list of difference-making players, Drake Bowen, difference-making players that are on the roster right now that they don't even need to go to the portal for. Now, are there some holes? Of course, there's some holes that they need to fix. Defensive tackle, they're looking at defensive ends, right? It's always good to have a backup nickel. I think, Dallas Golden's going to be a great nickel for Notre Dame, so they're not really looking necessarily for a starter. They're looking for maybe a wide receiver, if one comes that fits, right? But there's a lot of young talent at Notre Dame in the wide receiver room. Before the portal started, they had 14 scholarship wide receivers. You know what I mean? And a lot of guys with a lot of talent. I know a lot of people have thrown Cam Williams out, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but it's like he's in the middle of his sophomore year. Like, give this kid a second,
Right.
to be successful. And then you got, kids like Micah Gilbert, you got Jaden Greathouse, you got, Jordan Faison. You've got talent on this roster, at wide receiver, and a very difference maker. That's terrible phraseology. You have a difference maker at quarterback that can make wide receivers better, right? I
Yes.
mean, he can make them better. So I want to tell everybody just take a breath, let it play out a little bit. I think
Hmm.
you're going to be very happy when it's all said and done with Notre Dame's portal acquisitions because it will fit what they need in
Right.
this moment. You know what I mean? Like that's the
Yes.
biggest thing for me. And I try to remind people also, just because the portal closes doesn't mean they're done bringing guys in. Like the portal is to jump into the portal, not to come out. So
Hmm.
let's let's just wait and see how it goes. If Notre Dame brings in a decent class of like 5, 6 guys, two thumbs up for me. Let's rock and roll and get ready for 26.
Yeah. Does Jaden Greathouse or Jordan Faison have the better season in 26?
That's a great question because now you got Jordan Faison, kind of
He's coming on.
given up on lacrosse, and so he's going to be completely focused on
Yeah.
football, which
Yeah.
I
And
think is
focusing on football.
it's going to be real interesting because obviously, with spring and all of that, I mean, that's when you kind of break everything down, get back to the fundamentals. And look, Jordan Faison is a really good wide receiver right now. There's a lot of fundamental stuff that he can do a lot better.
Right.
And he can be more consistent with his route running and things like that. Well, guess when you work on that? In the spring. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think he's going to be dynamic. He doesn't have the talent that Jaden Greathouse has. It's just a matter of, okay, are they going to do a good job of getting the ball to Jaden Greathouse? I think we can all agree that Jordan Faison was a favorite target of CJ Carr.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, right? He's a reliable guy. He's got good hands, all of those things. And so, what does the offense look like? It's a really good question. I want to say Greathouse because he's got more talent, but I really want to see what a polished Jordan Faison looks like. I think he could really be a difference maker, and he could make an impact in the NFL someplace too, as just a slot guy that's just finding the open space, and just carving up defenses. I think that could be a lot of fun to watch.
Do you think that CJ needs another tall? Do you think he needs another Malachi Fields this year? I mean, what was he, 6'3", 6'4"? I mean, that's a hell
Yeah,
of a target, right?
sure.
Do we need one of those, or are we going to be okay with like a Great House and a Faison in the slot, or wide out? I mean, what do you think? Do we need one?
You know, I want to see a healthy Micah Gilbert. We haven't seen him in a while. I think he
Right,
fits that mold.
right,
Do they need to bring one into the portal? I don't think they need to. If they
yeah,
can find the right fit, then great. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's one of
yep,
those deals where you're not going to tell them no. But I think they can be successful with who they have.
hmm,
I wouldn't say need, but I would say they're absolutely open to that possibility because
sure,
Mike Denbrock loves having that kind of a guy,
yeah,
and they're show me the quarterback that throws a better back shoulder ball than CJ Carr. So
yay,
let's go.
yep. CJ Carr is the best Notre Dame quarterback since who?
I want to say Brady Quinn. And obviously that's going back 20 years.
Sadly,
Um, I know, right? And I think Jimmy Clausen had the better arm strength than Brady Quinn, but I think Brady Quinn was a better quarterback.
hmm,
If that makes sense.
it does.
It's just Brady Quinn was a winner. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I know that's the most vague thing that you can say about a guy, but those intangibles make a difference. You know what I mean? And I was really looking forward to watching Brady Quinn in the NFL. It was real unfortunate when he got drafted by
I
Cleveland,
know,
where
I know,
quarterbacks go to die. And
I know.
we've actually got an interview with Brady Quinn coming up on Tuesday, so everybody wants to look out for that. But
Oh, great.
it's he's in a great place right now, obviously. But man, when he was at Notre Dame, it was special. Like that's when I was sitting in the student section. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like watching the Quinn to Samarja and all the. I mean, good
Stovall and
gracious! Like let's go,
man,
man! Like
I know,
that
I
was so
know.
much fun to watch.
The that is my favorite kind of era of Notre Dame football. I
Oh,
love Brady Quinn was my favorite. The play action pass. I mean,
mm,
like, and I mean the guy was built like a tank, so it was great
yes.
in the goal line. Like
Hmm.
Jimmy Clausen wasn't going to run up the middle. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
I was a huge Brady Quinn guy, but from a touch standpoint, would it be Clausen or Carr?
You know what? Obviously we have the full portfolio of Jimmy Clausen, and he battled
Sure.
injuries and stuff like that. And I think that CJ Carr, when he's done next year, hopefully not
Hmm.
next year, but you know what I
I
mean.
know.
If he has the year we think he's going to have, he'll be done next year. I think he's going to be better. I think he is. I think he's going to be better. I think he's got more of the intangibles. I think he does have the stronger arm. Watching him, here's a great CJ Carr story. I believe it was spring practice when the competition was still going and all of those different things. And when you're in the indoor facility, they always put the press up on the balcony, and so you're looking down at practice, and then right across is a giant big screen TV, right? And what they do during practice is whether it's 7-on-7 or team or whatever, as soon as the play is completed, it goes up on the board. And so it's great from a media standpoint because you can watch the play live, then you can look up and see what you weren't necessarily watching or whatever. Every single time CJ Carr took a rep, he would look up at that screen and see, okay, did I make the right read? Did I not make the like he was studying, like his mind just works
In the
so
game.
quickly. You know what I mean? And he's watching that screen and he's watching from the all 22 basically to see, okay, did I make the right call? Did I not make like it was really fun to watch because I haven't seen that in a really, really long time at Notre Dame. Now they haven't had that kind of technology, obviously,
Right.
but just he's such a student of the game, and obviously he comes from a coaching family and all of
Hmm.
those things. It shows, man. It really does show. It's not a cliche. It's reality with him, and it's really fun to watch, man.
Awesome, man. Let's start talking about IB a little bit before we
Yeah.
get down a rabbit hole here. Okay, so you are the football analyst. You're the one of the podcast co-hosts, Irish Breakdown. Let's talk about how you and Brian got hooked up. I think you've been around since the beginning, both you and Brian.
Yep.
Let's talk about that and what kind of IB has turned into, because I think it would be safe to say, without naming your competitors, but I mean,
Okay.
you're one of the big ones at this point, right? Like, I mean, I
I
love
like to think so.
our regional reporters are great, but
Sure.
media is driven online. It's driven on YouTube, and you are definitely one of the big deals out there. So let's talk about Irish Breakdown, one of my favorites. Let's talk about the origins of that.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. It has. I was talking to Brian earlier today, and I was trying to get my date straight and everything, and I can't believe that it's been like 5.5 years since we started the business, and so basically, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So I got into this as kind of almost an accidental hobby. Like I said, my career is in education. I was waiting for my wife to graduate from college because I graduated a year prior to her, waiting for her to graduate so we could get married. And so I'm just in town, just kind of doing some odd jobs and things. I signed up for a contest. I won the contest to be the co-host of the Notre Dame pregame show on U93 with Sean Stiers back in 2004. Ever since, and my pay for that was tickets in the press box. Like, cool, man, let's go. Like, best hobby in the world, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, uh, fast forward, I've been a part of the Notre Dame media since the fall of 2004, and bouncing around from company to company, whether it's radio station, whether it was working with Mike Frank and Irish Sports Daily, whether it was working with Blue and Gold, that kind of thing. So Brian and I were introduced to each other back when I was working with Irish Sports Daily, and he was on the beat, and then he went back to coaching, and then he was back on the beat, and we became friendly. And what we really liked doing was just sitting down and talking ball. You know what I mean? That's what we call it,
Hmm.
talking ball. The
Yeah.
X's and the O's, all that fun stuff. He gets a job at Blue and Gold. He brings me on as kind of like a game day guy coming in, helping out, that kind of stuff. And then we would always talk about, man, it would be great to start our own company, and we would do it differently. We would be like coaches who have a podcast platform, and we would just analyze stuff, and we would break down film, and we would just do it differently. It would just be kind of like our niche. Well, all of a sudden, in the middle of the 2019 season, he and I are working for Blue and Gold. It's great. It's awesome with Loose Emoji. I mean, it was
Oh yeah.
so cool, right? Like seeing my name in like the magazine every week. Like that was freaking cool, man.
Oh yeah. It had to
It
be.
was so cool. It's like a childhood dream, right? Well, after the Georgia game in 2019, Brian was like, I got an opportunity with Sports Illustrated. I'm going to start my own company. I'm out. I got to go do this. I got to do this thing. This is like the perfect chance. And so he went and did it. I finished out the season with Blue and Gold, taking over all of his responsibilities, which was exhausting, by the way.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
And as soon as the season was over, and of course we were talking, we still sat next to each other in the press box every week and like the whole thing. And it was like, dude, as soon as the season's over, man, I'm coming. Like I'm coming. It's going to be great. And so he had a couple of months there where he was doing it on his own. I came over. We started together. I was making literally no money whatsoever, but it was just like I've always wanted to work with Brian,
Right.
and it was an opportunity to kind of do it our way. And like I said, I started doing podcasts with him like on my lunch break at school, and then we would publish them like the oldest ones that you see. Like you've got the cinder block in the background from my classroom. We're just doing
Hmm.
podcasts and just having fun with it. And it just kind of grew, and it really took off the day that Brian Kelly went to LSU.
Yeah.
I was at Riley High School as the head baseball coach, and I was in charge of the concession stand that night. And he calls me and he's like, Brian Kelly's going to LSU, man. We got to do a podcast. We got to go live. And I was like, sold. I went up to my classroom that day. We went live. We were talking about it. It's when a lot of people found us. And we were on a podcast until about 11 o'clock when the janitors told me I had to leave the building. That was kind of the launching point for Irish Breakdown. And we've been together ever since. He's one of my best friends, and it's fun to work with your best friend. And we just have so much fun doing it and breaking down film and educating people about football that don't know about football. Like we have talked to so many wives, of guys that listen to our podcast. They're like, we know so much more about football, no, because I'm always overhearing my husband listen, to your podcast or, those kinds of things. And just grown such a loyal fan base, and it's special, it's fun, and it's the best part-time job a guy could have for sure.
Yeah, do you still have pinch me moments? I mean, you've been in
Oh,
football forever. You do this like this is one of your things now. Like Irish Breakdown is a thing. There's no doubt.
yeah.
You are in the Notre Dame stratosphere, but you're also a fan. So like that's got to be the coolest thing ever, right? And you're going to be interviewing Brady Quinn soon, which I'm
Right.
extremely jealous in a very healthy way. Like what does that feel like? Is it just the coolest thing ever?
Oh my
It's
gosh,
got to be, right?
like the picture I sent you for this, I got a chance to interview Alan Page, the honorable Alan Page. Like, are you kidding me? Like that guy's
Right.
a legend of Notre Dame football, and being able to interview guys like that. And like I remember, standing at the top of the press box watching, because back on the old press box you could go up to the top to the camera well and you could watch it. And I look over to my right and oh, it's Joe Montana. It's no big deal. Just standing
Whatever.
next to me
No big
watching
deal.
football. No big deal. But like the run last year, right? Like going down to New
Hmm.
Orleans and watching that game, and then Brian went to Miami when I was at home, and then we drove down to Atlanta to go to that game, and just being around all of that, and I mean, you want to talk about pinch me moments, like to be just in the post game press conference watching Kirby Smart, after he just lost to Marcus Freeman, and then seeing Notre Dame guys walk in. It just, those are pinch me moments, man.
Right.
Like that will never get old. I've been doing this for over 20 years. It'll never get old, man. It will never get old. It will, like, Tyrone Willingham, I held the door for him one day and he's like, "Hey, thanks, Vince." I'm like, man, how does he know my name? Like
Right.
those
Right.
are pinch me moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same thing with any of the coaches. It's I try very, very hard not to make this normal. You know what I mean? Because not
Not
everybody
get
gets a
numb
chance to
to it.
do this. Yeah.
Don't get sensitive to the fact that you have this awesome access, right?
100%. And it's
Right.
funny because this year specifically, like I said, my son plays college football. And this was his freshman year. And I told Brian, I was like, man, I've been in the press box for 20 years. I'm going to go watch my kid play football this year. I'll still be on post game shows. We'll make it work, that kind of a thing. It's never the same, though. You know what I mean? Like, I still made it up to the press box a couple different times. But he's like, he sat me down. He's like, dude, your son's going to be in college for a very finite amount of time. You
Go.
need to go be dad,
Right.
which I did, and I appreciate him so much for that. Taking off the Irish Breakdown CEO hat and putting on the friend hat. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I would never want to miss anything that my kids do. But but it's still a pinch me moment when you're riding up that elevator to the ninth floor and walking out and seeing that view of Notre Dame Stadium. It never gets old, man.
So what does that look like for those of us that don't do the press thing, the official press thing? So Irish Breakdown gets like X amount of press passes for the games,
Mhm.
and do you guys have your own little spot, or is it like you get up there and you kind of is it first come first serve, or what's that look like?
So, like I said, we're on the ninth floor. We go up and we have three passes. So it's usually myself, Brian, and Sean Stiers, because Sean is really kind of the beat guy, right? So he goes down
Yeah.
to the press conference and he'll interview guys and stuff like that while Brian's up typing away, and then I'm going back and get ready for the post game show. So that's usually how that goes. We have assigned seats. We've kind of had the same three seats in the same general area the whole time that we've been doing Irish Breakdown, right about the 45-yard line on the south side of the press box. Everybody sits together in the big press box. So, like, we're sitting next to the Irish Illustrated guys that are right next to us. And then next to them is, Pete Sampson from The Athletic. And it's like one big happy family, honestly, up there. Are there disagreements at times and things like that professionally? Sure. But everybody's
Yeah.
looking out for everybody, man. Like it's a very interesting fraternity. I will say that.
Yeah, I had Tim O'Malley on not long ago. I'm going to ask the same question to you, although I think I'll get the same answer based on what you just said there. What is that like when, you've got to be friends with most of these
Hmm.
guys, right? And you've all got your shows online and everything. Is there a competitive nature there, or is it like, well, we're all watching the same game, we're all going to the same press conference, so really it's just like a slightly different take on the same like input of information? Like, is there a competitive thing there, or is it not? Is it just a kind of a family kind of deal?
It's a little bit of both, I
Yeah.
think. It's definitely a bit of a family for sure. Like you're saying hi to guys that you see a lot during the fall, and then you don't see him a bunch, and then you see him again. That kind of a thing. And like I coached baseball for Priester over at Marion for a little bit, so like our lives kind of intertwine in a weird way at times. But like again, that's one of the reasons that we started Irish Breakdown because we do it a little bit differently than the other guys because we're more like film breakdown oriented and like that kind of a thing. So it's like we don't necessarily cross over a whole lot, but we still do the recruiting and we still do the breaking news and we still do the analysis and all of that. And so look, I'd be lying if we didn't say like, oh, did you hear what so and so said? Oh, that's crazy, or oh, that really was a really
Right.
good point. That kind of stuff. But we cross over a lot too. We've had both Tims on our show before, and vice versa, and we all get along, and you kind of have to almost because you see
Hmm.
everybody almost every day.
Yeah.
Especially guys like Sean Stiers because he's our beat guy, so he sees those guys like 5 times a week. I just see him on game day, and then when we get to practice, viewings and things like that. But it's always cordial. It's always nice. It's always good to see those guys, and they all do a really good job. They work super hard, and I can't even imagine being in the business as long as like Tim Priester has, and how things have changed from when he first started, back in the late 80s to now with podcasting and everything's online and you know what I mean? Like
Right.
the business has
The
changed
business has
so
changed.
much, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys, so let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of IB. So you guys, I know you guys do the one I usually watch is the big show. You guys do the
Yep.
3.5 hour, which is awesome. And that's the mailbag show, I think, right?
Yep.
But talk about your programming just a little bit, your
Yeah.
weekly programming.
So Monday through Friday, we have, like you said, Brian does his show usually with Trevor Trowbridge. Sometimes Sean Davis is on there. The 1 o'clock show Eastern. They'll go anywhere from 2 to 3 to sometimes 4 hours, depending on what
Yeah.
the topic is. They have various topics that they hit, things like that. And then also Monday through Friday from 5 to 7, we Sean Stiers, myself, and Jesse Stiers, Sean's son. We do weekday sports beat that's also on the radio locally on 960 AM. But then it's also simulcast on Irish Breakdown YouTube channel. So we do that. So that's where I'm able to be a part of it because obviously I'm working during the day. And so then I'm on the night. I call it the night show. It used to be called IB Nation Sports Talk. Now it's Budweiser's weekday sports beat along with IrishBreakdown.com. And so Sean works for WSBT and he works for Irish Breakdown. And so we do the simulcast thing and it's awesome. So we can reach fans, on the radio and then also on YouTube. And so that's our normal Monday through Friday. Of course, during the season, we have a post game show on Saturday. We do Upon Further Review on Sunday, where we dive back into the film and we kind of do and during the live game, we saw this, and then when we actually went back and watched the film, we saw this. So kind of like what Irish Breakdown is all about. We break down the film like coaches and kind of let everybody know like this is what we saw, this is what we didn't see. And then if you're a member of our premium message board, we'll put videos up there. We'll show everybody kind of what we're talking about. This is a missed block. This was a great block. This was, a scheme change that we saw that is really cool. This is something that didn't work. All of those kinds of things. And so you can get everything that we do on podcast. You can get it all on YouTube Live or on YouTube. Anywhere where you get your podcasts, obviously. That's one thing I do in the background. Another way for me to kind of contribute since I'm busy during the day. I cut up all the podcasts, upload those, and do all the behind the scenes kind of stuff, kind of like a producer, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of fun as well because I can still hang out with my family and be on my laptop and be cutting audio. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's great. It's a lot, and there's so much out there to consume when it comes to Notre Dame football and Notre Dame athletics in general. We're just an avenue, and Brian is a very polarizing guy, which is awesome. You love him or you hate him, and obviously I love him, and we're having a great time doing it. And so we love everybody that logs in and listens to our stuff. It's a family. It's IB Nation, man. We love it.
Yeah, you guys have, not only is your content great, but you put out a lot, which I feel like is probably the goal to growth too, right? Like,
sure.
Did you have probably your biggest moment of growth during our legendary playoff run last year? I mean, you had to grow by leaps and bounds, like everybody did. But do you think that was probably one of your biggest growth moments as we went through that playoff run?
Our biggest growth moment, because we were still fairly new, was when Brian Kelly left to go to LSU. Like that was like percentage wise, by far. But you can ask the same question to everybody on the beat. No one was upset about that run that Notre Dame went on last year,
right?
Because we went all the way up to the middle of January, and it was still the season. You know what I mean? And usually by the time we get to February, March, things have died down, and those are the off months, right? And we cash our checks based on podcast downloads and YouTube views. You know what I mean? And so things dip in the off season. There was hardly any off season last year, right? I mean, we went basically, it felt like straight from the national championship game to spring to fall. It was like boom, 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 which was amazing. It was awesome. It was so much fun, and it was so much fun to take everybody on the ride with us. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
How much time do you think are you putting into IB on a weekly basis? Because I know you've kind of stepped back in certain ways to balance the personal life and all that, and the work family balance is huge. How much time are you putting in?
Yeah, 5 kids make it fun. But I would say so. Right now, we're in the off season. I'm on 3 shows at night, which are 2 hours apiece usually. So that's 6. And then, whatever, an hour or so that it takes to cut everything up 5 days a week. So I'd say it's, 10 to 15 hours in the off season. And of course that increases during the season because you got 3.5-hour post game shows, and then you've got Upon Further Review, and then you've got watching film, and you've got, all that kind of stuff. So it probably goes up to 25, 30 hours.
Very cool.
Which, hey, it's football season, man.
Yep.
When I start complaining about having to watch Notre Dame football and talk about Notre Dame football, that's when somebody needs to walk up and smack me in the face. But
right. Come on. 100%. Okay, so it's you, Brian, and Sean. Are you the
Mhm.
three full-time kind of staff members, and then you have contributors? Is that kind of what that is?
So the technical full time is Brian, Trevor Trowbridge, and Sean
Okay.
Stiers. So those are the three
Okay.
full time guys. I'm the part time guy. I'm more part time than anybody else. And then Sean Davis, who's out of Chicago, he kind of fills in here and there and is a great contributor for like post game shows and
Hmm.
things like that. He does a show with
Malik.
Malik
Yeah.
Zaire.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of his main thing. And then he comes on and we kind of help them get established. We had them on our podcast channel for a while until they got up to a certain point, and now they're kind of on their own.
Cool.
But he comes on and does great things as well. So, yep,
So you
that's the
s-
group.
so you were saying so when Brian first started it, it was like an opportunity with Sports Illustrated. So is
Hmm.
IB, are you like your own entity at this point, or are you a business under like the Sports Illustrated umbrella? What does that look like?
So we're not with Sports Illustrated anymore. We've
Okay.
jumped a couple of times, a couple of different companies, and so we have. Oh gosh, I'd be lying if I said I remembered exactly which company we're with, but it basically the company. It's almost like our company is split into a couple different things. So you've got the website,
Okay.
you've got the message board, which is completely Irish Breakdown. Brian's wife, who's amazing, she created the message board. She does
Really?
online stuff. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah.
she's a genius.
Okay.
And so she created the message board. So that's completely on for us. And then the podcasting, like the YouTube and the podcast and all that kind of stuff, that's completely ours. So the only
Really?
part that we're really tied to anybody is this website hosting company kind of a deal.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
rest is all us, and eventually we'll all be there. You know what I mean? So
Right, yeah. You
yeah,
make it completely independent. But
yep.
you have a company, you basically have assistance for the membership part of it, collecting membership and all that kind of
And
stuff.
that's only on the premium message board. Like
Yeah.
anything that is written for the website is completely free. We don't do anything behind a paywall in that regard. So
Right.
any articles that are written, it's on irishbreakdown.com. Anybody can get after it and check it out.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Okay. We've touched on a lot here. Let's see. Let me give my plug for Irish Breakdown.
All right.
I've listened to Irish Breakdown for a long, long time before Brian Kelly scooted for LSU. Um, the thing I like, I'll tell you what I like about you guys and what your, in my opinion, your special sauce is. You can go to any YouTube page, all of your competitors or whatever, and it's reporters talking about Notre Dame, which is cool. They've watched a lot of football. Like from 40,000 feet, you get this cool analytical view of Notre Dame football. And of course, they can throw in stories about they talk to him and they talk to her and this VIP and that VIP. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome because I don't get to
Hmm.
do any of that.
Sure.
IB separates itself from the pack because not only do you get that access, but you are literally criticizing constructively and otherwise as coaches.
Hmm.
So not only do you get all of that, like I talked to Marcus Freeman and he said this and that, you also get like the down and dirty, not like, well, our offensive line got no push. That's cool. I agree. I watched football enough. I can say that too and sound really cool. But what you guys do is say, here's why. Because I don't think his technique is any good. I think he's getting off the line slow. Why is that? Could be coaching. So the level of detail that you guys get into is 100% why you set yourselves apart. That's why I think you guys are where you are. It's why I watch you. I watch a couple others, but
Sure.
I come to you. But I mean, because they're all great, they're all talented.
Absolutely.
But you
100%.
guys certainly set yourselves apart with the analytical piece, which I think no one can touch. And that's a tribute to you guys. I mean, you guys are absolutely killing it. And I'm not being told to say this. I don't get money from anybody. I just love you guys. So that's why I was really happy and proud to have you on, man. Because we're both from South Bend and I've watched you forever. And I'm just so thankful you took the time to do this, man.
No,
Really.
I appreciate you, man. It's like I said, that was kind of our vision all along. I'm
Yeah.
very proud of the fact that we have stayed the course with what we originally wanted to do because it's real easy to put stuff out there just to get clicks and to make more
Right.
money and
That's
to do,
easy.
you know what I mean? Like that's
That's
easy to
easy.
do. And
Yeah.
there's people out there, and I'm not saying at Notre Dame, but there's people out there that do that all the time. Right
Right.
there, Colin Cowherd, he loves the clickbait stuff, right? Just to
Yeah.
throw somebody out there that's national, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's
Right.
like that's easy. We don't want to do that. We'll make less money, but do what we believe.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm very proud we've stayed the course on that. And look, I don't know if this is a dirty little secret or whatever, but I listen to the Irish Illustrated guys on their podcast all the
Yeah.
time. You can't listen to yourself. That's weird. So I don't
Yeah, it'd
listen to
probably be
Irish
weird, right?
Breakdown, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I listen to those guys all the time, and they have great things to say. And sometimes
Yeah.
they say things. It's like, oh man, that's actually a really, really good point. I didn't think about that. So I love those guys, and there's
Agreed.
plenty of other
Agreed.
great guys on the beat, that kind of a deal. And Brian is like 1,000% busy, and he does so much. I mean, running the business and doing all the things, and he's like, I can't believe you have time to listen to other guys and blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's fun. I enjoy it. I'm
Right.
out cutting the grass. I'm listening to those guys, and that kind of stuff. And so.
Might give you a different perspective too. I mean, why not?
100%. I love
Yeah.
it, man. And like I said, those guys come up with great stuff. And it's just fun to kind of be in the know what they're thinking and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's a fraternity. No, there's a very small group of people that understand what it's like to kind of do this work. And so there's no point in alienating anybody in the fraternity.
Right.
You know
No,
what I
not at
mean?
all. Not at
So
all.
it's great. Everybody works together. It's awesome.
Awesome, Vince. Okay, man. We are going to roll into a lightning round, and
Uh-oh.
I always have to chuckle when I say this because I say lightning round, but then it ends up being this long, drawn out thing. So I got to change the name. I don't know why the hell I call it a lightning round. But a few fun questions here, and I'm going to
Okay.
get you out of here. This is Vince DeDario. He is the football analyst at Irish Breakdown. If you do not check out Irish Breakdown, do it. Most everything is not behind a paywall unless you want to get into the premium boards. So.
Yep.
irishbreakdown.ib.com, I think.
I think that sounds
But
right.
it's 2026. Google it.
You're
Irish
right.
Breakdown.
It's there.
Okay.
I promise.
All right, here we go, brother. What is your favorite spot on Notre Dame's campus?
That is a great question. The Grotto's an easy answer. I mean, that's a wonderful place to go and just hang out, no doubt
Mhm.
about it. But I mean, look, I'm going to say it, Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah.
It's obviously gone through transformations and done all the things, but I always get the same chills every time I walk in and I see the stadium from the inside. Whether I'm in the stands, whether I'm, in the press box, it never gets old. It's that Rudy quote, right? It's the most beautiful sight these eyes have ever seen. That never changes, man. Like Notre Dame Stadium, just the mecca for college football.
What is your favorite version of Notre Dame Stadium?
I mean, look, we're sitting here in 2026, right? Notre Dame has done a very good job with maintaining the history and all of those
Hmm.
things. I think the way it is right now is fantastic. I love the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
I love the field turf. I know that's a controversial take, I'm sure, but like watching guys slide all over the place with what was going on before they put it in is just not worth it.
No.
But it looks great right now, man. The press box is beautiful. The press box 2 times ago was just, I mean, it was nasty. It was so
Yeah.
bad. You know what I mean? And so now it's nice and comfortable and big. They could bring the Nelson's Porta Pit back up there. I'd be okay with that. That used to be
That
a
would be
staple.
solid. Yeah, they need to
That,
do that.
oof,
I know.
I used to play games with myself. All right, I'm not going to get a Nelson's until they score their first touchdown. That kind of a thing. But
Yeah.
it's still it's a great day to walk into Notre Dame Stadium. So I will go with the current configuration.
Okay. Okay. What is your favorite spot for lunch and dinner in South Bend?
Okay, so depends on my mood, but I will say in downtown Granger, Salsa's is amazing. I love going to Salsa's at night.
Yeah. Sauces is great.
My wife and I love going to Salsa's. No doubt about that. Trying to think about a great lunch spot. We try to mix it up and go to different lunch spots when we have the opportunity to do so. I'm trying to remember what was the last place that my wife loves a good Panera, for lunch. You
Yeah.
get the soup and sandwich
Oh yeah.
combo, that kind of a thing. So I'll defer to her on this one, and I'll say Panera for lunch.
Okay. Okay. Do you get that red salsa ranch stuff for the chips at Salsas?
My wife loves to mix it up. Yes,
Oh, it's the bomb.
she
Okay.
she mixes it. She's the
So
mixer. Yeah.
All right. Here's controversial
Okay.
because everybody thinks it should be one answer, but I rarely get the answer I think I would.
Okay.
Who has the best pizza in South Bend?
Man, that's a great question. So you can't go wrong with Barnaby's. You can't go wrong with
Right.
Barnaby's. The only issue I have with Barnaby's is it just takes so long to get to you, and it's really expensive. And when I got 5 kids, so cost definitely comes into play. Um,
It's a $200 pizza run.
Dude, you're not kidding. But Bruno's in Granger, right on Bittersweet,
Hmm.
is my favorite.
Okay.
I love a good Bruno's pizza, man. It's close. The price is right. The kids love it. I love it. Like you cannot go wrong with Bruno's.
Bruno's. Okay. Your favorite stadium to visit?
So one of the things that in my role is I don't get to travel a ton.
Oh,
I'm
really?
Yeah, I'm usually the guy that hangs back unless it is a drivable stadium. So
Hmm.
I've been to Michigan State, been to Michigan, been to Purdue, those kind of drivable type. I've been to Soldier Field for the Notre Dame game. I want to go to Lambeau.
Okay.
How can you say no to Lambeau, right?
Oh, 100. Oh, I'm booking. I've already got the
Right.
flight booked. Now the
Yeah.
ticket's another story. I'm hoping. I don't know if they come with season tickets or not. Like I don't think
Ooh,
I
that's a
don't
great question. I don't know.
because it is a Shamrock Series game.
Yeah,
So I don't know if I'm gonna have an opportunity, but I'm
that's
gonna
a great
be
question.
well. It's gonna be hurting to get into that one, but I can't
No, I
wait.
hear
That'll
you.
be a good one.
Now I've gone to a bunch of bowl games.
Hmm.
That's usually how Brian like rewards me. He's like, "Hey, go on the bowl game," and then I'll pay for my wife, and we'll go make a little vacation out of
Oh
it,
yeah, nice.
which is nice. Leave the kids at home with the grandparents. But so the best stadium I've ever been to. This is controversial. The Big House, man, like
Yeah.
that was a trip. Like
Hmm.
it was awful because Notre Dame lost in epic fashion the last time I was up there with Denard Robinson. That whole game, like it was the
Are you
Adidas
talking
throwback
11? You
game.
talking about
I think,
2011?
yeah,
Oh, I was there too.
yeah.
I
That
was
was I
there
was
too.
right on the
Brutal.
field when that like
Yeah.
oh, if you want
Yeah.
to talk about
Yeah.
complete ecstasy to complete depression in like 10 seconds, but um like first of all those jerseys were amazing, number one.
Yeah, they were sick. They
Those
were
were
awesome.
awesome. But
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great state. How it's dug out into the ground and it's just so massive in there. Like, I can't
Yeah.
stand Michigan, but their stadium's pretty freaking cool, man.
Well, when you like walk up to it and it looks like it's 40
Right.
feet tall, but then it's like carved into the ground in
Yeah.
Ann Arbor. I mean, that it is pretty sweet, man. It is
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
Yep.
What your favorite Notre Dame game ever? It's your favorite game. Actually, I want two because you've been a fan long. You go back a few more years than me. I want two. What are your two favorite Notre Dame games?
Well, look, this one is obviously going to be, I don't know if this is controversial or not. It's the one I remember the absolute most is USC '05.
Oh
And
yeah.
they lost that game. How can that be a
Right.
favorite? They lost it.
Right.
But I remember like it was yesterday. So they let the media down, at least they used to. They still do, but differently. They used to let the media down with 5 minutes to go in every game. And I would go down every single time because it's like you never know when it's going to be your last chance, right? That's what I always tell
Right.
myself. So I'd go down, and you're literally standing on the sideline, on Notre Dame sideline, just a little bit past where the team is, so about the 15-yard line. And I'm standing there right by the end zone of where USC is trying to get into the end zone. The Matt Leinart roll to the left, right? And there, it was still back when they had the crown in the middle, right? So you couldn't
Hmm.
really see the other side very
Right.
well. You see the ball pop up in the air. And I look over at the scoreboard. I see it go to triple zeros, and I'm
Game
like,
over.
"Let's go!" And I'm on the field, and I'm like trying to subdue the fan in me, like
Right.
rushing
Right.
the
Right.
field kind of thing. And then I look over and I see Charlie Weiss coming out and the whole deal. And then all of a sudden you hear the PA announcer, everybody needs to clear the field. There's still, X amount of time left. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And then to
Right.
see it all just crumble,
Hmm.
I'll never forget my feelings and all of those things. So that is by far my number one. The next one is a much more recent version. It was the IU game last year.
Yeah.
I have never been in an atmosphere at Notre Dame Stadium like that. And
Yeah.
Brian and I have a tradition where we go. So the way the press box is configured, you've got obviously the press box in the middle, and on either side There's like a patio basically, and anytime like a former player comes in or whatever, they stand out on the patio and they wave, to the camera, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, the media has access to those patios, and so we always go outside for the first drive of the game.
Cool.
And so just to feel the
You
atmosphere,
just
just to
watch it
like
outside. Yeah.
we just yeah. And so we go out there for the IU game, and I mean it's just absolutely electric.
Yes.
And then Jeremiah Love hits that run.
Oh
And it
yeah.
was like it felt like the stadium was just going to crumble into, rubble at that. Like it was the
Yeah.
best feeling I've ever
Hmm.
had in Notre Dame Stadium. The crowd, the noise, like I'll never forget it. It's just unbelievable.
Very
Unbelievable.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the loudest you've ever heard Notre Dame Stadium? When's the loudest you've ever heard the stadium? Is there one that
IU
stands
game.
out? Was it IU?
IU, it's not
Yeah.
even close. It really isn't. And that's why I want to go outside because there's the windows in the press box go all the way up to the ceiling, and then they've got these little transoms that they can kind of open a little bit, so
Hmm.
you can hear the crowd noise, but it's not the same as being like
Outside.
outside. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it was just absolutely electric at the beginning of that game.
Up until the IU game, and I was there also. Um, the '06 game against UCLA, the
Yeah.
Quinn to Samardzija, to
Oh,
me, probably I think was the loudest that I
okay.
can remember. I just felt like my chest was vibrating when we
Yeah.
when we hit that pass to Samardzija. But IU was louder. IU was the loudest I think ever that
And the
I've ever
constant
seen.
loudness, you know what I
And it
mean?
was
Like there
like
was,
constant
yeah,
loudness. Like it
right.
wasn't just one moment. It was like the whole damn. It felt like the whole
Yeah.
damn game. And then the J Love
Yes.
run was like crazy. So
Yeah, it's awesome. I
it
want
was
that
awesome.
back. I want
I
that
know. I
feeling back,
know.
Gene.
I know, man. I know. All right, Vince. I think we've basically talked about it all, man. Irish
Okay.
Breakdown is the site for all things Notre Dame. Vince does a lot over there. Does a lot of awesome breakdowns. You'll see him on the podcasts. Producer now, I just learned, behind the scenes producer.
That's
Go
right.
check him out, Irish Breakdown. It's my favorite, Vince. You are the man. Thank you. We're over an hour, probably the longest I've ever done, and I
All
could go
good, man.
another hour. I could go another hour.
Hey, anytime you want to have me back, I'm down. Like
I would
we can
love.
talk about whatever.
Let's do it. I would love to do that. I'll have you on again. And again, Irish Breakdown. Everybody, go check them out. Vince is awesome. Brian's awesome. The whole team awesome. Have a great day, man. And I appreciate it. We will talk soon. Go Irish.
Thanks, Gene.